Growing up during the Pokemon mania of the late 90s, a hotly debated topic on the playground was which Pokemon was the strongest and which Pokemon was the weakest. At my school, there was a clear consensus. Mewtwo was obviously the strongest, and Diglett was the weakest. Look at this Pokemon card. Everyone said, yeah, this thing is awful. Today, I'm going to put Diglett to the test in Pokemon Yellow and see how it fares against the entire game. Is it really one of the weakest Pokemon, or will it surprise us with a fast finish? I personally predict that Diglett is actually going to do decently well. It has everything a Pokemon needs to put out decent results in a solo challenge. Anyways, I'm really eager to find out, so let's get into it. Here are the rules for today's playthrough. I've also left them in the description just in case you need to reference them later on. I nicknamed my Diglett Ty after one of my patrons, and then I go up against the rival in the lab. Fortunately for me, Eevee misses its first 2 tackles, giving Diglett time to get damage in. I'm not doing very much after all. When the enemy Eevee finally connects with Tackle, it does a third, and that means I won't survive very much longer if Eevee plays aggressively. But instead, it chooses Tail Whip, misses, Tail Whip again, misses again, and that's all the time that I need to knock it out. Diglett could have obviously lost that fight, so I needed some luck to win. And in this case, that luck was required, because this win is quite important. The rival picks what he evolves his Eevee into based on the outcome of this battle and the optional one west of Viridian City. Vaporeon is obviously the evolution that Diglett would struggle the most against, but in order to make him pick Vaporeon, I need to lose at both this location and the optional location. That would mean that I intentionally sacrifice the experience from the lab fight, forcing my solo Pokemon to start training for Brock 1 level lower. And that just doesn't seem right. So unless the Pokemon has no realistic way to win in the lab, I'm not going to face Vaporeon. Instead, I'll fight Flareon if I don't need extra experience for Brock, and I'll face Jolteon if I need the experience. Today, the rival's choosing Jolteon because I need levels to defeat Brock. So I'm going to go back to what I said at the beginning of the video about is Diglett actually the worst. So I'm going to reflect now on what my friend used to say about Diglett, that it's quite literally the worst. And yeah, it actually has the worst HP stat of all of the Generation 1 Pokemon. It has the second worst of all Pokemon introduced to date, actually. Shedinja, the Pokemon with 1 HP, is the only Pokemon with less than Diglett. Luckily, things get better from here. 55 attack is decent, 25 defense is awful, but Diglett isn't surviving any hits anyways. 45 special is surprisingly good for a ground type, and 95 speed is absolutely incredible for a first stage Pokemon. It's actually the second highest in all of Generation 1, with only Voltorb outspeeding it at 100 base speed. Because base speed is used to determine the crit rate of a Pokemon in Generation 1, that means it's going to be critting 18.5% of the time. And with high crit moves, it's always going to crit. On the right hand side of the screen, you can see the formulas for crit rate in Generation 1, just in case you're curious. Now, high base speed is really nice for Diglett because it learns Slash through level up. And that's not the only incredible move that it gets access to. It also gets Dig, Sand Attack, Earthquake, Body Slam, Mimic, and Rock Slide. Yup, Diglett gets Rock Slide, and Aerodactyl doesn't. While this move pool isn't large or diverse, I think that it probably includes everything that Diglett's gonna need. From my experience with Golem previously, I know that having a rock and a ground type move is the perfect offensive solution for nearly every enemy in the late game. So now let's get into the playthrough. To prepare for the optional rival, I spent time training in Viridian Forest, and then I head back to Route 22. The rival leads with Spearow. Scratch does a third, it pecks, does about 1/3 to me, and that takes Diglett into the orange by the time the bird faints. Eevee's next. My Scratch does 1/4, its Tackle takes me to 6 hit points, and that's that for Diglett. It faints on the next turn. I tried again. Diglett's chance to crit might help here after all, but Spearow uses Leer and then fails a Growl, so I arrive at Eevee with full health anyways. It uses Tail Whip, lowering my defense another stage. Diglett crits, Eevee crits, Diglett survives but doesn't quite get the KO, and then Eevee hits me with another Tackle. But Diglett hangs on and takes the win. Before Brock, there are still 3 trainers I have left to fight. A bug catcher with a Caterpie and a Metapod, a mandatory bug catcher at the end of the forest, and the junior trainer in Brock's gym. After defeating all of them, Diglett's level 15. I don't think this is going to be enough to defeat Brock, so I head back and do a little bit of additional grinding, and then I decide at level 16 that maybe I'll scout Brock out and see how Diglett stacks up against him. Surprisingly, I managed to defeat the Geodude, but Diglett only has 4 hit points left. So I'll need more levels, and I don't think that just 1 or 2 is going to be enough. And then after that, I'm going to be level 19 anyways, where Diglett gains access to Dig, so I might as well just train for that right now. For some Pokemon, Brock really feels like an obstacle that is like slowly overcome. Each level, I'm getting slightly closer to the victory, eventually just barely managing to scrape by. But with Diglett, it just can't win, and then it's completely easy. Dig one-shots both Geodude and Onix. The prize for victory is definitely not the TM for Bide, that's just garbage. The prize is actually the badge boost that the Boulder Badge gives. It's a 12.5% passive boost to Diglett's attack stat. So already at this phase of the game, Diglett is sort of a beast. It has a 100 base power move that gets Stab, so that's a 1.5 times modifier. And then on top of that, it gets another 12.5% modifier from the badge. So yeah, I've overleveled for Brock anyways, so now Route 3 and Mount Moon feel like a complete breeze. Plus, Ground type is really great against the plentiful Poison and Electric types in here. In Cerulean City, I decide to skip Misty and take the Rivallon first. He leads with Spearow, and I can't use Dig against it, obviously. I hope that it doesn't lower my attack with Growl while I take it out with Scratch. Looks like it's going to take 3 hits. No Growl so far, that's pretty good. But then Diglett gets a crit and takes it out on the second turn. Sandshrews next. I use Dig, it does massive damage, but not quite enough to avoid Sand Attack. Well, it just misses anyways, so I guess I avoid it. With the Sand Attacking nuisance out of the way, I sweep the Rattata and the Eevee with a single hit each. I'll complete Nugget Bridge first, and then after that I'll make my decision about if I want to take on Misty or not. I was really worried about the Oddish Lass at the end of this route, however I crit the first one with Dig, and Scratch crits the following Pidgey, so that's nice. And then the final Oddish goes down to a single Dig as well, so yeah, that one was really easy. As I'm heading back to Cerulean City, I decide that I'm going to go to Vermilion before facing Misty. This is just the safe choice. Extra levels and Body Slam is going to make it far safer to take her on. The Rocket gives me the TM for Dig, which I don't really need because Diglett already knows it, but this does give me some moveset flexibility. You may have noticed me keeping Dig after I've obtained Earthquake in previous playthroughs. Usually I'm doing this because I still want to use Dig to get out of locations like Sylph, Blaine's Gym, and Sabrina's Gym. Typically, I just forget that I have Earthquake in my inventory at that point, and then realize mid-fight that I should have forgotten Dig, and then by the time the fight's over, I've forgotten about Earthquake all over again. That's a vicious cycle. Really annoying. At least in this case, Dig and Earthquake do the same amount of damage, so it doesn't really matter that much. Today, I can just teach Dig to Charmander, completely eliminating the need to keep Dig on Diglett's moveset. I grab the Bike Voucher, the TM for Rest, the TM for Body Slam, the Rare Candy, and then I face the third rival. So, Diglett's fast. My attack stat is great, well, decent, and Body Slam is debatably one of the most powerful moves for a solo playthrough. And I have Stab Dig. Yeah, this fight is so simple. I dig back to Cerulean, smash through the junior trainer in front of Misty, save the game, because I'm anticipating a world of pain coming my way in this fight. Misty opens with Staryu. She has good AI, so she's only going to be using Water-type damage-dealing moves and X-Defends. Diglett's faster, goes underground, Misty uses X-Defend, but Dig still does enough damage to one-hit. Starmie time, and it has 56 speed. That means Diglett goes first, Starmie tries Bubble Beam, fails, and Diglett's Dig takes the Starfish into orange. Okay, I just need one more turn. Misty uses an X-Defend, and with that, the fight's over. On my first attempt. So yeah, I was quite surprised about this one. That was a great result. Anyways, I bike south to Vermilion and take Surge on next. Diglett moves first, digs underground, and then Dig digs the Raichu a swift grave. The next section of the game contains a lot of trainers which are really tricky to manage. The Rapping Lass is the first one. She likes to use Paralysis and Wrap in combination to really frustrate you, but her Grass Poison types are easy to take out with a single Dig each today. In Rock Tunnel, I need to conserve my use of my PP because Dig just really doesn't have that much. I really want to save myself for the Hiker's Rocks. With Dig on my side, I one-shot his entire team, and I've made it to the mid-game. On the way to Celadon, Diglett learns Slash, and here I should take a bit of time to explain crits and how their damage works in Generation 1. Starting in Generation 2, crits always deal 2 times damage. This was actually later changed to 1.5 times damage. Yeah, it's good that they nerfed crits a little bit. But in Generation 1, the damage modifier for a critical hit is actually variable. We multiply the Pokemon's level by 2 and then add 5. We divide this sum by the sum of the level and 5. So we're going to get a number that approaches 2 the higher the Pokemon's level. So at level 31, Diglett has a 1.86 times damage modifier with Slash, making it effectively a move with 130 power right now. That's pretty good. In the department store, I get really salty about the fact that Omastar, Kabutops, and Aerodactyl can't learn Rock Slide, as I teach it to Diglett. This is so frustrating. Anyways, ground moves are incredible offensively against most types, and the one type that is immune to them, the flying type, is covered with the addition of Rock Slide, so this is a really nice package of offensive moves. After selling the items I don't need, I make my way to Pokemon Tower and I face the rival. Rock Slide for the Furo, not quite enough, but it faints without doing damage. Same story for the following Shelter. Vulpix quick attacks before fainting, Dig one-hits the Sandshrew, and Eevee is no different. Another simple rival fight. The rest of Pokemon Tower is a fast sweep. Dig is so great in here. I head out onto Cycling Road and decide to do some extra training here. After all, there's lots of poison types here, so it should be really quick and, yeah. Okay, Machop got me. So, when was the last time that I saved? It was all the way back before Rival 4. Just great. That's almost 4 minutes of lost time. To be fair, I can't remember the last time that I lost on Cycling Road, so yeah, I guess it was fair to not save there. The reason that I reset in these circumstances instead of just blacking out is because I have HM Mules on my team. All of them would need to faint first, and that's technically a violation of my rules to not use any other Pokemon in battle. Plus, losing money isn't fun, and most of all, I have some serious muscle memory. Like, after playing these challenges, I just push the reset button as soon as my Pokemon faints. When I come back to Cycling Road, I save and I don't make the same mistake again. Now, what I need to decide is where to go next. It's possible that Diglett could manage Erica because ground-type moves are neutral against 2/3 of her party. However, Tangela gives me pause when considering that. With Mega Drain, good AI, and Diglett's HP, I should probably do something else first. I decide that Sylph is probably the best next destination. After all, I can get Earthquake in here, and it's slightly faster because it only takes a single turn. Now, I think my moveset is pretty much complete. Earthquake, Body Slam, Rock Slide, and Slash. But will these be enough to defeat the rival? I use Earthquake on Sandslash, it does about 1/3, and the Retaliatory Swift does the same to Diglett. Oh no. So yeah, Slash is going to be absolutely brutal. This just isn't going to happen. Because Diglett's a first stage Pokemon, it just makes sense to put in the time training now. After all the trainers in Sylph will be inaccessible once I defeat Giovanni. After all the training in Sylph, I sweep my way through the dojo for extra experience, and then I make my way to Koga's gym. So he's the poison type gym leader, and it seems like he should be really easy for a mono ground type Pokemon. Unfortunately, the addition of the bug type makes his Pokemon only take neutral damage from my stab ground moves. However, Rock Slide is super effective. I'm remembering it today. It knocks the first Venonat out, crits the second one, the third survives, and then puts Diglett to sleep. That's not good. It uses Double Edge, doing just under half, and taking itself into red as a result. Okay, so this is over. Unless Diglett wakes up, tanks Psychic like a boss, and knocks the Venonat out. Okay, so I'm still kind of in this, but the Water Grass Behemoth is next. Rock Slide does more than half, it sets up Double Team, and my next Rock Slide connects. So yeah, I've earned the Soul Badge, and with it comes a 12.5% boost to Diglett's already incredible speed stat. I don't think that I'm ever going to move second again. Back to Sylph now. I deal half damage to his lead, it crits with Slash, taking Diglett into the orange, and then I finish it. From here though, I'm fairly confident. The only Pokemon I'm worried about is Cloyster. Please, Rock Slide, don't miss. It doesn't 3 turns in a row. Cloyster fails to do any damage and goes down. And that's that. The rest of his team are simple for Diglett to clean up. As would be expected, Jesse and James and Giovanni, who are all next, are really simple for Diglett to finish off. And that brings me to Pokemon Mansion. And after that, to Blaine. My only concern against him is that his Pokemon have some powerful physical moves. And Diglett's really paper thin. It moves first, uses Earthquake, and Ninetales goes down. Rapidash is next, and Earthquake does it again. All that's left is Arcanine. I think that Takedown will probably end the fight, so I really have to avoid it. Earthquake does good damage, but Blaine's ace hangs on in the red. It goes for Takedown, hits, but Diglett survives. The Fire Doggo faints, and with that, there's only 2 gym battles left. I grab Mimic on my way to Sabrina's gym, and then I face her with confidence. 154 speed and powerful physical attacks is the wind that my sails need to sweep through her frail psychic types with ease. Before Giovanni, I feed Diglett some vitamins, and while I was doing this, I realized that I'm actually falling into a bit of a trap here. I have not actually defeated Erica yet. So yeah, gotta head over and do that first. I'm level 52, so I don't think I need to train in here. I only face the mandatory trainer with the Execute, and then I go head to head with Erica herself. She leads with Tangela. I use Slash for what feels like the first time in the run. The Vine monster survives, does a small amount of damage with Vine Whip, and then it knocks it out. After that, Earthquake 1 hits Weaving. As long as I don't get a Gen 1 miss, I should be fine. I don't, and with that, I'm moving on to the final gym battle, Giovanni. Honestly, he gets made fun of a lot, but in yellow he's quite scary. First, Diglett has to face his big brother, Dugtrio. However, mine's faster, because it's like really small, that aids the speed and everything. Anyways, it takes care of the Dugtrio in one hit. Persian's next, it survives Earthquake. Giovanni uses a Guard Spec, and then faints on the next turn. So yeah, that should be it, right? Nidoqueen gets crit, Nidoking survives, but Guard Spec? That's basically Giovanni's ace, his Guard Specs. Anyways, Rhydon's last. I use Earthquake, crit, and the Rhino gets taken into red.
And then it strikes back with Earthquake, and that knocks Diglett out in a single hit.
Oh no. So that didn't feel good. I spend a bit of time training in the gym, preparing to face the Rhydon again. I come back only one level higher, cross my fingers, and make it through his team. Maybe a clutch crit will help me here? Nope. But instead, Rhydon just uses Horn Drill, which is a one-hit KO move that can't affect the target if the user is slower. Rhydon is very slow. Anyways, good job, Giovanni. I guess you didn't deserve those compliments from earlier on. Now, Diglett has been feeling really good throughout this playthrough, but at some point, I think it's going to run into a wall. I have this sinking and freezing feeling that it's going to be happening very soon. Actually, slightly sooner than I thought. The rival's Cloyster takes so little damage from Rock Slide, and then Clamp ends the battle. The second fight, Sandslash takes Diglett into orange health. Execute seeds me, and once again Cloyster shrugs off my rocks, and Clamp finishes Diglett again. I've put off using my rare candies until now, but I think it's time. I use all 10, and at level 65 I try again. Earthquake crits Sandslash for the knockout, Execute survives a slash with the sliver, seeds Diglett, and then goes down. Rock Slide's enough for the Ninetales, and it does half to Cloyster. Okay, this is much more promising, and then it uses Aurora Beam, which is only doing 2 times damage, but it still takes Diglett out. I guess it was a critical hit. Just great. As real-time is the metric that I optimize my play for, I stop attempting this fight and spend some time on a couple other tasks. I make a quick stop by the power plant to grab a final rare candy. This is going to be faster than grinding out levels now. After that, I spend a bit of time training. Okay, so after all the rare candies and the additional training, I can get Diglett all the way to level 71. This has to be high enough, right? Right? Sandslash lives through Earthquake, does more than a third with Slash, and then accidentally I spam A too much and use Earthquake on Execute. That results in Diglett getting paralyzed by Stun Spore. It can't move, the eggs start to charge their Solar Beam, but Slash hits and Execute goes down. Ninetales is next. It uses Roar, good choice. Paralysis prevents my move, so the first turn was a wash anyways. Ember gets a critical hit, taking Diglett to 54 hit points before Earthquake knocks the Fiery Fairy Fox out. Cloyster time. It uses Withdraw, Rock Slide does half, and then Clamp finishes me again. Okay, if I don't mess up at the Execute, I can do this. Even with better play, I arrive at Cloyster with half health. Diglett now moves first, dealing damage before Withdraw buffs Cloyster's defense. That gives me one more turn to finish it off. Okay, please. That's it. Earthquake takes care of Kadabra and Jolteon, and with that, Diglett's off to the league. Now, for Pokemon that are weak to water or ice types, Lorelei is usually the scariest trainer in the entire playthrough. She's got a diverse team with fast Pokemon like Jinx, defensive Pokemon like Cloyster and Slowbro, and a more balanced ace in the form of Lapras. One issue that's immediately apparent is that Dugong is the problem. Aurora Beam can lower my attack, and after that's happened, Diglett doesn't stand much of a chance. Well, unless the Cloyster misses Clamp and then I crit it into Oblivion, okay, maybe I can beat the Slowbro? Never mind. Surf is way too much for Diglett to contend with. I don't think that I'll have an issue getting past the Dugong unless Rock Slide misses once, but after taking one super effective hit, Diglett just can't sustain against the following Cloyster. Now, I'm in an unfortunate position of having to train here because I've used all my rare candies earlier on in the playthrough. This is why I usually try and save them until the last possible moment. Luckily, the trainers in Victory Road actually have some of the best experience yields in the entire game. I also battle wild Pokemon along the way. I take my time with this training, bringing Diglett all the way up to level 77. Let's try Lorelei again. Rock Slide crits Dugong and knocks it out, so that's a really good start. I do more than half to Cloyster, it uses Ice Beam for half, and then feints to Diglett's second attack. Slash does just more than half to the following Slowbro, and it retaliates with Surf, and that knocks Diglett out. Or not? Diglett survives with 1 hit point. Slash takes the Hippo down, Rock Slide manages Jinx, and I've made it all the way to Lapras. Please. I cross my fingers, use Rock Slide, and it isn't enough. So that's another reset for a total of 12 so far in this playthrough. I probably need a different strategy, so in the next fight I replace Body Slam with Mimic. After all, I'm not using this move anymore. It is really powerful, but I can give it up. This lets me gamble at Slowbro and Mimic Amnesia. By setting it up, I'll hopefully survive Lapras's attack. But unfortunately, Slowbro uses Surf right away and I'm forced to knock it out as fast as possible. In this case, I've been rushed to the Lapras, so Hydro Pump still does enough and Diglett goes down. The danger with this Mimic strategy is that Lorelei has good AI, and Slowbro knows Withdraw and Surf. Those are 2 water moves, meaning that it's going to randomize between them. When it rolls Surf, Diglett suffers. Lorelei does have AI modification number 2, and that means that on the second turn each of her Pokemon are in the battle, she's going to prioritize status moves that raise their stats. This means Slowbro is always going to use Withdraw on the second turn. It's a water move and it raises her stats. That means it only has a 50% chance to use Surf on the first turn, and then I get 1 free turn of setup. Perhaps with Rest, I can heal after setting up once or twice, and then get fully set up before moving on. Remember at the beginning of the video when we went through Diglett's stats? Yeah, its special is actually not that bad, so setting up Amnesia here is pretty good. I can survive through Slowbro's attacks now, knock out the Jinx and make it to Lapras. And then Rock Slide misses. Blizzard hits and does very little damage because of my setup. Rock Slide misses again. It's so frustrating. I heal, and now I'm going to get hit 3 more times. Diglett survives with orange health, and it looks like I have enough to survive a hit and actually attack once. Rock Slide takes Lapras down to a sliver, Lorelei uses a super potion, and that's it. I've won. Finally. So earlier I complimented Giovanni because he's so much better in yellow, and a lot of other trainers got big improvements in this game as well. Unfortunately, this trainer did not get that treatment. Agatha's next. And Diglett is honestly just a machine that is designed to send all of her ghosts back to the grave. It's fast, it uses physical attack, it has Earthquake, and Rock Slide specifically for Golbat. So this fight is very easy. It's time for Lance. Because he's essentially a flying type trainer, I think that I should have this. However, Gyarados hangs on. I was worried it would use Hydro Pump, but it doesn't. Lance heals it with a Hyper Potion, my second Rock Slide does the same amount, and then Hydro Pump smashes Diglett, taking it all the way down to a fitting 10 hit points. And then, my second Rock Slide finishes it off. I try to heal against Dragonair, but after I use the second rest, I've lost hope in this strategy. But then Slam and Hyper Beam miss, so I knock the 2 dragons out, maintaining green health. Okay, it's time for Aerodactyl. Diglett moves first, Rock Slide hits, and it finishes it off. Dragonite is bulkier though. Maybe it's gonna survive? It does, uses Blizzard, Diglett hangs on, and finishes the Dragon Master's ace. Alright, so this little guy, he's impressing me. After Lorelei, the rest of the league has been really easy. And I guess that makes sense. After all, I'm level 79. But what about the champion? For style points, I decided to mimic Slash because I really didn't want to give it up earlier, and then, whoops, really don't try to get style points in the champion fight. Instead, I should just be attacking right away. In this case, I crit the Sandslash, so yeah, the perfect consistent strategy. Alakazam is a foregone conclusion because I'm fast and I hit hard physically, and then Executor comes out. I can't knock this thing out fast, and so I'm not going to be able to prevent Leech Seed. And this is very unfortunate, because Cloyster takes what looks like half damage from Rock Slide, meaning that Leech Seed heals it just a bit, preventing the 2-hit. This situation leads to my first loss against the champion. So what's the solution? Well, mimicking Slash for style points didn't work, but I can actually mimic Hypnosis from the Executor for both strategical and style points. After I have it, I heal up, knock the grass type out, and then put Cloyster to sleep, preventing the super effective water moves. With it out of the way, Ninetales falls to Earthquake, Jolteon gets a final chance to attack, Quick Attack isn't enough, and Diglett finishes the game. 1 hour, 54 minutes, and 11 seconds, at level 79 with 16 resets, and a game time of 6 hours and 40 minutes. Now, just for fun, I fought Mewtwo with Diglett, so here's the audio from my live attempts. Diglett with Mewtwo. Here we go. To mimic, barrier, or to just attack. I think to just attack. Oh, that did so much. Diglett, you boss. Okay, well, it was a boss for a while. Okay, number 2. Here we go. Earthquake, Swift. Oh, I'm gonna do it. Oh, sweet. This is really easy. All right, there we go. All done. I'm gonna let it evolve to a Dugtrio. It's reached its final form. All right, are you ready for some optimization? I know I am. Let's do this. With nearly every Pokemon, I like to test Brock just so I know that they're going into the rest of the playthrough with a decent time. For Diglett, the question is, can it defeat Brock at a level before Dig that I didn't test previously? If it can, it would give it a small time advantage. At level 17, I don't even manage to get past the Geodude, and unfortunately at level 18, things don't go much better. I do make it to Onix, but with red health. At level 19, it's going to learn Dig, and this trivializes the fight, so there's no shortcut here today. The next significant challenge for Diglett is Misty, and during my playthrough I fought her at level 27 after completing the SS Anne. This made it so that I had to backtrack to Vermilion City to face Surge, and this is not optimal. I'd like it if Diglett could face Misty immediately after Nugget Bridge. In this case it would be around level 25. That's 2 levels lower than before, but it's really speedy, so it's going to move first against both of her Pokemon even at the lower level. Dig one-shots Staryu very consistently, however Starmie survives. Bubble Beam doesn't knock Diglett out, and because of that I'm going to be able to win this one with decent regularity. Making my odds better is the fact that roughly 19% of the time, Diglett's going to crit the Starmie, and that'll finish it with a single turn. However, working against me is the fact that Starmie has high base speed, so it can also crit and knock Diglett out with a single Bubble Beam. I fought Misty 10 times during this test, and I won 9 times, so I really don't need to go to the SS Anne before defeating her. The mid-game for Diglett is going to be largely centralized around training. I need to prepare for Lorelei after all, and I needed around level 77 to do that previously. Since I need to overlevel so much, I can just delay facing gyms for a very long time. Koga is likely going to be the first major battle that I do after I conclude my training, so I want to know what level I should face him at. Level 47 doesn't give me the ranges I need to knock out the first Venonat with a single hit from Rock Slide. That means I get put to sleep, and this really isn't the answer. At level 50, I one-shot the first Venonat, crit the second one, and that puts Diglett in a position to make it to Venomoth. I choose Slash for additional accuracy because Rock Slide won't knock it out, and the Moth faints in 2 turns. However, at this level, I'm not one-hitting the second and the third Venonat, and that means Diglett can get confused or put to sleep. So the answer is fairly simple. I could just get poisoned before facing Koga. Honestly, most of these fights are nail-bitingly close, but I win 8 out of 10 of them. The way that Diglett can lose here are critical hits, Rock Slide missing, or Venomoth getting lucky with Double Team. For my playthrough, I'll probably train up slightly higher than level 50, making this fight a little bit safer. Last, I'm going to test Lorelei. She is, by far, the hardest trainer for Diglett to face. Previously, I defeated her at level 77, and I wanted to see if I could use Mimic to do it at a lower level. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like this is going to be the case. There are just too many ways that Diglett can faint before it gets set up. Dugong can lower its attack with Aurora Beam, Cloyster can use Clamp, and then Slowbro can hit massive surfs on the first turn in battle. I only win 1 out of 10 fights at level 71. I tried 5 fights at level 75, but it's still not working. At level 77, this is the level that I was at during my first playthrough, I'm only winning occasionally. What I'm going to need for consistency here is a damage range that lets me one-shot the Dugong. That'll ensure that I have full health for Cloyster and give Diglett a much better chance. So what level does Diglett need to one-shot the Dugong? Well, I start doing it at level 81. However, I doubt that this is a good strategy for my playthrough because it's going to sacrifice too much real time to level up this high. I'll just try Lorelei at level 77 and hope that I get through it in 1 to 3 fights. So now, let's put all this into practice. How much are these optimizations going to shave off Diglett's time? For the optional rival at the start of the game, I just overlevel. I need level 19 for Brock anyways, so why would I just come back here at a lower level and reset even once? At level 16, this experience is basically free anyways. Brock is simple with Dig, and despite that, I've only gained 5 seconds from my previous playthrough. By skipping the trip to the SS Anne before Misty, I think that Diglett is set to gain a lot of time in the next stage of the playthrough though. I won 9 times out of 10 in my tests, as I said before, so I was really confident going into this fight. And then Starmie survives 2 digs because of an X-Defend on turn 1. And yeah, it knocks Diglett out with 2 hits from Water Gun. Already 1 loss, so that's bad luck. I'll get it on the second fight though. Or Misty will use an X-Defend turn 1 again, and the same scenario plays out, leading to a second loss. Finally, in the third fight, she doesn't use an X-Defend, and Diglett takes Starmie down on the second turn. Okay, so that was more of a delay than I wanted in that section of the game. Next is Surge, and he's just a free victory. But because of the resets at Misty, I'm only 37 seconds ahead of my previous time at this point. It's really sad to see my early game optimizations foiled by Misty's use of X-Defend. It's like, usually when the trainers use items, it's just awful. This time, it was actually good. Now it's time for the training portion of the playthrough. Cycling Road, Sylph, Erica's Gym are the first 3 locations that I do this in. After putting in all that work, I'm level 49. This should be enough to defeat Erica, and then I can move on to Koga after her. Tangela's Mega Drain does almost half to Diglett though, and it takes the Vine Monster out of Body Slam's KO range. Ugh, I might actually lose here, but Tangela uses Vine Whip, and Diglett survives it. So from there, I can just one-hit the Weepinbell and the Gloom, and that's that. I continue training east of Fuchsia City, and then finish it off in Koga's Gym. But how will the Ninja Master be? I did test this one. I'm pretty confident going into it, because I'm 3 levels higher this time. Rock Slide's inconsistent and misses first turn. Just great. But Sleep Powder misses too. Okay, that's good. Diglett one-hits the first Venonat, the second one as well, and the third one, so that's good. Now it's Venomoth time. I use Rock Slide, cross my fingers. It hits and crits. The Venomoth falls. I train against the trainers in Blaine's gym because I need as much prep as possible for Lorelei, and then I sweep the Fire Master with ease. Well, the Arcanine survives, uses Takedown, but Diglett survives, so I win anyways. With all 4 badge boosts, I can now backtrack to Sylph and finish off the rival here. After that, Sabrina's a clean sweep with Earthquake, and Diglett's made it to Giovanni at level 60. Typically I collect 11 rare candies in my playthroughs, so I'm still going to need some additional training in Victory Road to get to the level that I need for Lorelei. And then I realized something that's quite unfortunate. I defeat Giovanni with a slightly slower time than in my first playthrough. I'm roughly a minute and a half behind. But I am 6 levels higher this time with 3 less resets. But I do think that I've set myself up for success, because previously I was not at a good level to beat the pre-league rival. However, this time with 6 more levels, I think that I should be able to do it. Earthquake crits the Sandslash for a lucky KO on turn 1. Execute takes half damage from Rock Slide, takes in Sunlight, and then faints before it can Solar Beam Diglett. Ninetales is next, and it faints to Earthquake. Diglett levels up. Unfortunately, with this level, I'm not quite able to 2-hit the Cloyster, but I get lucky here and it misses Clamp, and that's all that Diglett needs to run away with the victory. One-hitting the following Kadabra and Jolteon is really easy, and with that, my optimizations are starting to show in the results. I'm now almost 11 minutes faster than my previous playthrough. My training isn't complete though, so I need to do some extra grinding in Victory Road. I reach Lorelei, use my rare candies, and then at level 77 I attempt her for the first time in this playthrough. Rock Slide misses Dugong. Just a great start, worst luck on my first turn. Aurora Beam does over 1/3, Diglett's attack isn't affected, it's really good. Dugong goes to sleep, and then I knock it out over 2 turns. Once again, Rock Slide misses the Cloyster. It clamps, Diglett survives with 1 hit point. It's really nice, but it isn't enough, and Lorelei wins on the next turn. The next fight, Rock Slide hits Dugong, puts it in red health, Lorelei uses a Super Potion, and that gives me the KO. Rock Slide does half to Cloyster, it uses Ice Beam for half, and then faints on the next turn. Now it's time to set up on the Slowbro with Amnesia. Please don't use a turn 1 Surf. Okay, good. Uses Withdraw, I set up fully, survive Surf, and then heal with Rest. When I wake up, it's time to take the Slowbro out really slowly with Earthquake. Next is Jinx, it's frail, it faints in 1 hit, but Lapras won't. The only way that I can lose now though is if she crits me or gets a freeze. Rock Slide hits, Lapras survives on red, but Lorelei heals it with a Super Potion, and that means Diglett's won. Next is the Hiker, and I defeat him without losing a single hit point. Agatha is exactly the same. So now it's time to slay some dragons. Rock Slide crits Gyarados, getting the knockout on the first turn. Earthquake finishes Dragonair, I mimic Ice Beam from the following one, and then it freezes me. Wonderful. So for the next fight, let's all just watch what I do. Rock Slide does a lot of damage to Gyarados, Diglett survives Hydro Pump, and then what am I doing? Well, yeah, it wouldn't be one of my videos if I didn't make some sort of mistake like this. I have no idea what was going through my head. Anyways, the third fight against him plays out the same way, but this time I don't use Earthquake, so Gyarados actually faints. The second Dragonair is a good place to rest because it knows Slam, Hyper Beam, Thunderbolt, and Thunder Wave, 2 of which can't affect Diglett. I knock it out when I wake up, mimic Ice Beam, and this time I don't get turned into an Ice Cube. This allows Diglett to sweep its way to victory with its surprisingly decent special stat. Now, the champion's the only trainer left. Sandslash is first. Earthquake does more than half, Fury Swipes misses, and I finish the first team member off without losing any health. Diglett easily outspeeds Alakazam and Earthquake's a KO. Executor is going to spam Leech Seed because it has good AI and it thinks that this is a grass move, so it should just use it over and over and over again. So this gives me time to steal Hypnosis and slowly whittle it down with Rock Slide. Now for Cloyster, I use Hypnosis first turn and cross my fingers. This move has really bad accuracy. It works, Rock Slide gets the crit, but it doesn't quite do enough. But the Shellfish is having a nice nap and I take it out. Ninetales is next, it damages Diglett with Quick Attack and then faints. Jolteon's last. I outspeed and Earthquake KOs. Diglett clocks in with a time of 1 hour, 33 minutes and 53 seconds. That's 20 minutes and 18 seconds faster than my first attempt. And without the bad luck of Misty, I think that Diglett could have actually been slightly faster. However, I don't want to assume that because Lorelei also could have delayed me even more than Misty, so I think this time is a realistic result for Diglett, and 5 resets at level 79 with a game time of 6 hours and 5 minutes is a great finish. So how does Diglett stack up against all of the Pokemon that I've completed playthroughs with so far? Is it, like my friend thought, the weakest Pokemon? Nope, it really isn't. It's actually quite good. For real-time results, it's so much faster than Pokemon at the bottom of the tier list like Tangela and Zubat. It's just barely faster than Onix, and slightly slower than Paris. Rattata and Ghastly were quite a bit faster, and I only did one playthrough with them, so I think they're significantly faster through the game. For number of resets, Diglett's second playthrough is tied with Clefairy, Butterfree, and Raticate. Also, Pidgeotto's first playthrough and Blastoise's third. I think that Diglett's speed lets it avoid most resets. You can just plan, train, and level up enough so that you're going to win. Except for a trainer like Lorelei, where I think that training up completely for consistency would just slow you down overall. Its game time result was faster than Cubone, but slower than Onix, Rattata, Mankey, and Paris. So where am I going to place it in the tier list? Well, I just want to say first of all that this is completely subjective. I do want to make it more accurate as time goes on. I'm going to do this by replaying many of the Pokemon here, especially the ones that I've only done a single playthrough with. I also want to revisit Pokemon that I played a long time ago because honestly I've got a lot better in the last year. I've been doing pretty much only Pokemon for a year now anyways. So getting back to the tier list, I do want to say that there's part of this that is subjective. After all, when you play through with these Pokemon, each one of them has a certain feel to it. I think that Diglett is extremely close with Onix. It has a faster real time by a smaller margin and a slower game time by a small margin. The main difference here though is that Onix lacks attack and special, where Diglett has those. Also, the additional rock typing actually makes Onix feel more fragile than Diglett. Yeah, Onix really doesn't feel good against grass and water types. However, Diglett actually stands a better chance against them. For that reason, I think that Diglett deserves the spot just in front of Onix. Like, subscribe, ring the chime echo, and comment because I gotta read them all. By the way, it's actually getting really hard to read all your comments, so thank you so much for putting your thoughts down there. They really help me improve the content. An additional thanks to all my patrons. Your support enables me to continue making these videos. This is also a dream job for me, so thanks for making it a reality. Now, if you've made it this far, you're incredible. It's bloopers time. Here are the rules for oh my gosh, I'm breaking! It has a 100 base power move that gets the 1.5 times modifier. It has a 100 base power move that gets the 1.5 times multiplier because it has the same type as Diglett. And on top of that, it gets the... I'm being Sean Connery again. No, that won't make sense in the bloopers because I'm time traveling. The rocket on the way gives me the TM for dig, which I don't really need in this case, but it does... I can't say this line. Just drink water. It'll be okay. The line will come. I promise. I decide that Sylph is probably the best next Gosh, so bad. I decide that Sylph is the best next come on. Earthquake does good damage, but Blaine's ace hangs on in the red. It goes for hate down. I didn't talk about Dugtrio going down. Just skipped that. Just like, yeah, my little Diglett's faster. Sandslash survives Earthquake. Just do a whole paragraph, Sean Connery style. Sandslash. I can't do it. I can't do it when I try. Ember gets a critical hit, taking dig. Yeah, it's just dig. That's it now. No dig. Just dig. Uses withdraw. Walk side. Oh no. Aurora Beam can aurora my attack. Can lower my attack. Well, unless Cloyster misses a clamp and I crit it into Oblivion. Ah, no, not Oblivion. I didn't film Diglett and Mewtwo. I just realized that I need to go do that right now. Okay, I'll be right back. I think, what? How did I forget that? I'm so confused. So confused. In the game's code exists an unused battle against Professor Oak, and this can be triggered by a glitch. I decided for this video that I'll face his team that has Blastoise, because Diglett's likely going to be weak against it. Oak has the highest level Pokemon in the game, with his ace Gyarados being level 70. Honestly, Diglett does not stack up very well against this thing. However, even before Gyarados, he has a Blastoise and it knows Hydro Pump, which knocks Diglett out on my first attempt. To solve this issue, I can mimic Hypnosis at Exeggutor and then put Blastoise to sleep. Well, in theory, or I could just miss a lot and then Blastoise spams Withdraw over and over. I'm probably going to do no damage when I finally attack. Unless I get a critical hit. That's really convenient. Gyarados time. Hypnosis misses, and Hydro Pump knocks Diglett out. I get sloppy at Exeggutor, and then I try to allow Tauros to use Leer and Tail Whip to badge boost Diglett a little bit, but this ends in disaster. I miss Hypnosis on Blastoise, but I survive, and then I miss again. So that's just great. In the end, this fight really does come down to luck with Hypnosis for Diglett, but I finally get it, Blastoise goes to sleep, and falls, leading to Gyarados. Just one more Hypnosis. Please. It works, Rock Slide does more than half, Gyarados stays asleep, and Diglett takes the victory.